I know it takes 2 or 3 minutes for everything to connect. So I'm actually gonna be right back because I'm not quite prepared. So, start in about 3 minutes. That's when we start seeing people in the chat. Be right back. Okay, see if we have anybody here yet. I don't think so. It usually takes about 3 minutes. So, let's say it's been 1.5. So as soon as we have a few people on board, we will get popping on emotions today, if anybody is out there. Emotions in business and in life. Okay, we're getting near the 3-minute point. It looks like somebody's on. Can you say hello? Anybody just giving me a hi or a hello that you're here? Okay, we'll wait till somebody does. A few more of you are on. That's good. Caleb, you said you were going to be here. Are you here yet? So Owen says hello. J, hello, sir. Hello. My grandson's supposed to be here, so I'm asking if he's here. I see a like. Now, don't just give me a like if that's you, Caleb. Get on the chat here and say hello. Owen and Jay did it. So a few more people coming on. So let's see who else is going to be here before we get started. Going to be talking about emotions in business today. Last week we had a great time, I believe, on who we are. And Sandra is here. Good to see you. Hello. Thanks for being here. Owen. Yeah, Caleb, where are you at, my brother? You know Caleb? Okay. Anybody else? Let's see. See if we get any other comments here. I'm going to start in just a few seconds here. We're doing emotions today. One of my favorite things, I wrote the book Metamorphosis, Asleep, Aware, Awake, Alive, to tell my story. Well, not really, it doesn't tell my story in terms of the book, it's a fictional account, but it does tell my emotional story. So it's autobiographical in fact. So, okay, let's see. Manthan or Nathan? How much longer is this going to go for? Well, we just started, so we'll see. Uh, Mr. Professor, hi, Uncle or Granddad, whatever you want to call me. This is stream. Yes, this is live. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. As I say, today we are talking about emotions in business and in life. And in particular, the title of the book, Building a Purposeful Business, that I wrote, I titled chapter Too Anxious. So I kind of focus in on anxiety because it was a big deal for me. So um, That's what we're going to be talking about. But before we get going, just a couple of reminders. Love to have any comments that you make as we go. I know you're doing that in the chat, and I can't really follow up with that as I go. So I kind of go back to that at the end. But in the comments, give me some comments, whether questions or comments, good or bad, I don't care. And certainly likes, subscribes, and share. This will be live in about takes YouTube about 2 hours to get it up there after I've ended it. So appreciate any of that. And how are you, pal? Okay. Shady. All right, good. So we're going to get started. And again, what I like to do is I like to start with a kind of a reminder of what the channel is all about, because we most always have a lot of new people. And so you'll notice pursue, transform, and build are the key words that I use for this channel. And it's for this reason that the pursuit is that which is going on inside of us. And that's what we challenge people to really look at. What's going on inside? Who are you? That's what we looked at all of last week. Who are you? And so that pursuit leads to an intentional transformation. I say intentional because transformation is going to happen anyway. Change is always taking place. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. So, an intentional transformation when you are attentive and aware of what's going on inside, who you really are, what you really desire, what your pursuits really are. And so, all of that leads to building. What we call building here in this channel is the day-to-day activities of life, everything that we do, that which we do the most of the hours of the day is what we call the building realm. And that's kind of the overview of the channel. We like to see it as purposeful. That is to say that if we are looking at the inside out and we're trying to understand who we are in the midst of this great big world, and then we're trying to be transformed in the way that we want to be, as opposed to just being transformed by virtue of the fact that we grow older every day, like this old guy has, then we want to be we want that to influence the build. We don't want to just kind of wind up in the build area. And the reason I say that is that's kind of what I did in those early years. I just happened to find a service business, and I happened to fall into that, and it all kind of fit, and that's okay. But it wasn't my passion. It wasn't what drove me. It wasn't kind of the essence of my being by any certain sense of the imagination. So, so that's why we kind of look at that big picture. So today we're looking at how emotions tie into that. That is to say that we are all an entire being. This flesh and blood thing here that you see, this bag of bones, is just the outer of the real you and me. The real you and me is what we call the mind and the heart. We did one of these lives on that as well. So there's a distinction between who you really are on the inside, the real you, versus what I'm looking at if I were to be looking at you right now, the way you're looking at me. So while you see this old bag of bones here, it's not really me, it's just what I carry around. So that's what we talk about on this channel, getting in touch with all of that. And today we will be looking at emotions. And we don't want to just wind up in the build area, wind up at a job, wind up doing a business that we're not really passionate about. We don't want to just spend all of our waking hours without really knowing, why am I doing this? Why am I here? So we're going to look at that again in light of emotions today. One more thought, though, before we get there, because an expansion on that idea of the pursuing is a community that I mentioned some weeks ago when we did a Saturday live on it, called Profound Pursuits, school, SKOOL.com, Profound Pursuits. So I am making that live in the next couple of days. And there we will really get into the depth of this whole matter of what do I want to achieve? I know there's something greater in me. I know there's something bigger inside of me that I want to do than just working the job that I'm working right now or doing the thing that I'm doing right now, whatever that might be for you. And so we want to challenge you to look deep inside and begin to try and connect with what that is that's going on. So we're going to do that in a free community called Profound Pursuits. Again, that's at school, SKOOL. And I'll be putting the link in the post here in the next couple of days. I'm going to get a water. I'll put that in the post in just the next couple of days so that it'll be there. I'd love to have you. It'll be a free community. It is a free community. I just don't have it all up and running just yet. I think Caleb, you're going to be there if you're here now. And so that just a little detour about that. That's where we'll be. The pursuit we sometimes talk about. It's that urging within. It's that itch that's got to be scratched. It's that part of you that you're not quite sure what's going on. You're not quite sure what it is, but you know it's something different than what you're being other than doing. You know that the doing that you're doing is fine, but there's something in you about your being that you really want to get in touch with and you want to understand, and that's what you want to pursue. And as some of you may know, I'm also writing a book called that, The Pursuit. Again, more of the same. And by the way, I'm looking for a co-author on this one with that, someone that's already published, someone that's already done work similar. So if anybody has anybody like that out there, I've asked Francine Rivers, but it'd be great if she does it. But anyway, I've asked a few people, gotten a couple of no's already. So I just put that out there, The Pursuit. Again, comments would be great. Okay, so let's think about this build realm and this building area, this place that we live and move day in and day out, where we spend the largest number of our hours by far. The thing that we do, the work that we do, the family that we're working with, the relationships that we have, the recreation that we do, uh, going to church, going to the synagogue, going to the mosque, all of those things are part of build. It's what we do, it's the things that we are doing. And again, everything that we talk about is have purpose in what you're doing. Make sure the pursuit is going on. But in all of those realms, we may run to any of those areas, religious areas, family area, recreational area, to get away from our emotions or to get in touch with them. And for most of us, more likely than not, it's to get away from them. Again, in the book, Metamorphosis, the story of Ronald, the story of me, is running away from emotions, not wanting to get in touch with them, not wanting to understand what they are. And so uh, that's the more likely place that the build realm will take you when something's going on emotionally that you don't want to deal with. And so that that part of us that's crying out emotionally is something that we want to be aware of. We want to be attentive to. And I say all of that because while on the one hand, it's quite natural for some people. For many of us, it's not. And some of you know my story, and my story required that I learn how to know what emotions are, to learn how to deal with my emotions. And so I believe there are probably many, mostly men, I think, that were in that realm. I think well, a woman would look at this and say, What do you mean you don't know how to feel?" I think again, many men might be able to connect with that. You'd feel certain things, yeah, when you're angry or whatever. But so a woman might look at that and say, because they're often very connected with their emotions. But again, for many men, that may not be the case, and I'm sure it includes some women too. Closing ourselves off, um, not looking at the facts, not confronting our real self about what's really going on. and pretending that it's not there. I'm going to give you a couple of examples in just a moment, but that's what we want to kind of think through today as we engage with our emotions. Again, we might go to some of those places in the build area, in the realm of the things that we do day in and day out, to run away from our emotions. Uh, but we could possibly be going there to kind of get in touch with them. That's what I would hope would be the case, but less likely. So again, if anyone's like me, then you know that I would have run to work, for instance, to run away. That's where I spent a lot of time, and so that was kind of a means for me to not have to consider the emotional things that were going on. And so, um, uh, again, having to learn how to feel. I know that that's for some people hard to comprehend. And it's not so much not knowing, but rather running away from, ignoring, pushing down, ignoring it, pretending all is well. So that's why I'm saying that in any of those areas within the build realm could be places that we may go. The places that we live most of our 24 hours to get away from those things that are going on. So you see, transformation is occurring daily. We are it's not going to stop. Living beings, living life is always transforming, is always changing. Nothing stays the same. So if we're transforming, uh, then we're asking ourselves, wouldn't we want it to be intentional? Wouldn't we want it to be purposeful? Wouldn't we want our transformation to be becoming that which we are desiring? If there are any Christians here, you know that that desire is to be more Christ-like. It's being conformed to the image of Christ and all of that. But again, we're here together in all sorts of religious perspectives, so we're not kind of saying that that's the way it has to go for you, but we are saying that a transformation is happening. If I do nothing, I'm still going to be transformed tomorrow into an older guy than I am today, if you can believe that. And that will happen. So, are we going to be intentional about our transformation? Or are we just going to let our transformation kind of move us along the river, just drifting along? Are we going to just let the waves of life move us from here to there? Or are we going to be intentional? Are we going to be purposeful about our transformation, desiring the better you, desiring that which you know is inside of you and that you know could be better, and that you really want bigger things and think that there are bigger things for you. But for some reason, you're just kind of floating along at this part in life. So that's what we want to talk about as we try and connect all of that with this matter of the emotions. And again, as a guy, it's the only place I have to come from it, and I believe it's harder for the guys than for the women. But the fact that we're always changing, we really want to always be looking at uh, an intentional change. Now, I want to give you four really neat, I think they're really neat examples out of a psalm, Psalm 107. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of each of them because it describes four different stages of life, four different life situations that occur. And it says, some did this, some did that, some did this, some did that. The last one is merchants. So that's where you get to the business part of it. But I just want to read you each of these because to me it's so of how things happen in life, and then we are confronted with how am I going to deal with this? Because emotions will occur in the midst of all of these events of life that occur. And so again, it's from Psalm 107. Some wandered in the desert wastelands, finding no way to a city where they could settle. They were hungry and thirsty, and their lives ebbed away. Ooh, wow. Think about that. Feeling that way. How would you feel being in that situation? Your lives ebbing away because you're hungry and thirsty and you can't find where you're going. Some sat in darkness and the deepest gloom, prisoners suffering in iron chains. Now, we don't know as the writer is writing if those were physical chains and they were actually in prison and therefore they were in the darkness and the deepest gloom. I don't think it is that. I think it is representative of the idea that when we are in that state of depression, that state of darkness. And so some sat in darkness and the deepest gloom, prisoners suffering in iron chains. So you see, there's a different set of emotions for each of these. Some became fools through their rebellious ways and suffered affliction because of their iniquities. Why did I get so excited about that one? Because I want you to raise your hand if you can join me. In that one, some became fools. That's a lot of my life story. So I want you to join me if you can. I see a raise of hands here. I don't see too many. So hopefully you're learning earlier than I did. And by and large, I'm a rebel. Now, being a rebel isn't so bad if you know it, and if you recognize it, and if you control it. But if you're a rebel and you don't really recognize it, and you have rebellious ways that are working out from that, not so good, not so good. So here's the business one. Others went out on the sea in ships. They were merchants on the mighty waters. And then it describes a turmoil that comes, a storm that comes, and it's taken the ship way up on the top of the waves and then way back down into the depths of the water. And then it says, in their peril, their courage melted away. They reeled and staggered like drunkard men. They were at their wits' end. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. That's the good news. So, all sorts of people, all sorts of situations, all sorts of circumstances that we will each run into in life as life comes our way. Are we going to just let it push us along as a wave would in the ocean? Or are we going to take control of our lives and ask, what's going on here? Why am I experiencing this? And what am I feeling in the midst of it? Is that is it that I'm seeking the pursuit of who I am in the midst of this? That I've been created for a purpose? Or am I just drifting along, letting life push me in the drift? If we're intentional, we're going to have a mindset. Says what the Apostle Paul wrote, be transformed by the renewing of your mind that you might prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Be transformed. So this transformation that we're talking about is intentional. It is wrapping your arms and your mind and your heart around what's going on so that you can be intentional about your transformation. That it's not just going to happen that you get a day older tomorrow and look older like I do. Intentionally moving in the given direction that you desire. And again, some of you know my story, and that is that it took me many years to get to this point. And so, again, I'm going to share a couple of examples with you in just a minute. So, uh, well, let me share one area that I think is sometimes confusing because as we go through these circumstances of life, like the four that I just pointed out that describe many that exist for us, that having a positive attitude is really, really necessary and really, really good. It's that which will maybe sometimes get us through difficult circumstances. Hey, I had a mother that lived to 101 years old. She might have even lived longer had she not fallen and then kind of became discouraged in those last months. But I believe that much of it is because she had such a great attitude. Be grateful in the days. I still have her sign up over here that she left, and be grateful every morning. And so she had that kind of an attitude, that kind of a positive attitude. And so a positive attitude is really, really helpful in business. We all know that. You want to have that because you're going to come to all kinds of circumstances and all kinds of situations that you're going to have to deal with day in and day out. And you need to go about them positively, otherwise, it'll pull you down. The but to all of that is that we can sometimes use the positive attitude as a way of ignoring our emotions. We may not want to look at what I'm really feeling and just mentally say, well, I've got to maintain a positive attitude through this, and I'm going to. So, by your will, you're determined to do that which you know is the good thing to do, maintain that positive attitude. But in the process of doing it, you're pushing down the emotions. You're not really looking at what's going on. So, and again, I think that was part of my mom as well. I think that she lived that very, very positive life, but there were a lot of things emotionally that she, I don't believe, really ever dealt with. So, it's just one thing, or one way that things can happen. Okay, so let me share, um, uh, kind of maybe a wild extreme, um, that that's probably the way you'll see it, a wild extreme, but I just want to share it because it was a very emotional time. My sales agency was just me in the beginning. So after I sold the business, I just had me, just a sales agency. So I represented another or other companies, and so I had time, and it was kind of an easy time during my life in order to generate income. It was a time when the family was growing, and so we did have issues that were going on there. But but by and large, my work life was kind of easy at that time. And what happened for me is that boredom set in, and that boredom was a driver. It's not an emotion. It's a driver. Boredom, it often arises from a lack of stimulation or engagement in activities. So those are the drivers. But for me, I know that that's what often would drive me to ignore what was really going on and find searching it out in other places. You see, it can lead to feelings of frustration, restlessness, or irritability. And again, if you're a person that doesn't really want to deal with those things, who doesn't really want to even admit, maybe because you got such a positive attitude that, oh, I'm not restless, I'm not irritable, uh, then then you'll find a way to maybe ignore that, and that's the challenge that I'm putting forth for you today. This matter of not looking at what's really going on is kind of the easy path. It's the easy thing to do rather than to confront and and question. Well, what's really going on? Why are these feelings here? They're here for a purpose. We're a complete being. That's the thing we've got to always realize is that, we don't live in boxes. So, this isn't my emotional life over here, and this is my religious life here, and this is my work life over here, and this is my recreational life over here. No, we are connected intricately in such a way that it's really amazing when you think about it. So there's the mind and the heart, the real you. There's the brain inside of this physical body. So that's just part of the flesh. It's just a mechanism that collects data and helps us get through life and do what we need to do and create new ideas and all of those things. And then there's this physical body. And part of this physical body, God has given us this thing of emotions so that so this body would help us connect with those so that we would know that it's time to look at what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I depressed at this moment in time? Why am I so exhilarated? Any of those emotions can be something that we choose to just kind of ignore and say, well, I'm just kind of floating along here in life and I'm not really interested about what's really going on inside. And so, uh, so those things will contribute to certainly to anxiety. And so I was going to share share the story with you that I during that time that I had a little bit of free time, kind of became bored. I decided, well, I'm gonna trade commodities. Yeah, so I didn't take anything easy and say I'm gonna trade that. I took like the biggest thing, the biggest risk. Commodities. Think about it, cocoa and coffee and oil. Those are commodities, those basic things. And I want to learn how to trade those. So I read the books. I read many books, and all each of the books would have at least a chapter on emotions and controlling your emotions. Each one of them would say, you can't do this thing emotionally. You got to have a plan, and you got to stick with that plan. Every one of them was very clear on that. And so there's no question about any of that that was going on. Um, and so in other words, the books were clear. Have a plan. Don't let your emotions. So I said, well, I've read the books. I understand what they're saying. I'm ready to go. And so I go about this matter of, it talks about crowd psychology in there. It talks about how it's easy to go that way. But what I'm saying is that, I thought I had it. And so I said, I'm just going to go about doing this. And so, yes, I had been working through it for a few months, and I had a tremendous win, and something like 10,000 to 50,000 within a week, and so it was exhilarating. It was a fantastic trade. So all of a sudden, you're the smartest guy in the trading world, and that's kind of where your head is, and. And so all of a sudden, the books and the messages in the books kind of disappeared. What was that about emotions? I don't know. Don't worry about that. The exhilaration just has me in such a place that I'm going to go make the next trade. All of those books were always clear on when you have a big win or you have a big lose, make sure you take a week or 2 or 3 off at that point. And you see, again, the emotions that I was dealing with, I didn't really know I was dealing with, and I just kept on going. So I wasn't just ignoring what I read in the books. I was ignoring the emotions that were going on because I remember the exhilaration. And I probably don't have to tell you the rest of the story. 10 days later, I was under $10,000. 10, no more than 2 weeks. I think it was about 10 days. So now how am I feeling? Well, now I remember on the second or third day that that happened, literally sweating. But I didn't take the time to stop and say, what in the world's going on? I just kept pressing on. I didn't take the time to be attentive, to be aware, to again, that's my challenge to you is to just take the time to be aware. Just give yourself the ability to to think things through and not jump in with both feet and say, well, this is where I'm going and this is how I'm going to get there, because you likely won't get there. Not if your plan is to get to a really, really good place. So you say, well, that's such an extreme, uh, and and I agree. I don't think there would probably be many people here today that would do that. So let me give you a business example that occurred not long thereafter. Um, I had purchased a franchise to learn how to do the residential business because all of my work was always in the commercial field, and so I knew that the residential business was different, kind of unique. You'd have to know how to advertise. In the commercial world, we just go out and find business. Yeah, but in the residential world, you've got to learn about advertising and all that. And so I chose to buy a franchise of a company that would train you in all that. And went out to California for a week, I think, and got trained in that. Came back and was quickly overwhelmed with all of the details. And you got to understand, I'm not really too detailed of a person, and so it doesn't take much to overwhelm me with a lot of details. And so when that happened, I said, I've got to do something here. And so I found a young fella that could could come and work that business and just kind of work it for me. And I offered him the position. I said, if you do this well, I'll just sell it to you. And so what happened is he did a good job in those first number of months. He's a fellow that had been trained at Nordstrom in retail, so he had good training. Nordstrom is kind of the top of the line for retail, and so they teach you all what you need to know to be good at retail. And so he had a good enough personality to deal with people. And so over a few months, he said, "Yeah, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and take this from you." And it was kind of a win-win for us because I wanted to get rid of the headache, and so I just sold it to him at the same price that the franchise cost me, and it was a fair deal for him and a fair deal for me. And and I had conversations with him. I had not written a book yet, otherwise I might have handed in that. But I just want to share with you that he was okay with the way the business was going for him, and that it was providing for him, and he was able to pay his loan for having bought the business. But within no more than 3 months, and I really believe it was 2 months, he was back telling me that he had found another business that was similar to his, and that he wanted to combine that with his. Now, what was really funny about that is that's what I had done before I had gone through a bankruptcy. And so, you think your overhead will remain the same, and you can just manage it with less overhead. And so he wanted to grow big real fast by buying this other business. First of all, he didn't have the money, but second of all, I'm saying that what kicked in for him was the anxiety of wanting to grow bigger faster, and that anxiety led him to the place where it turns out that he couldn't do it because he couldn't get the money to make it happen. But that's where he was. He was anxious to go ahead and to do something that would get him to a place quicker than if he were to do it the slow way and the methodical way of just growing week by week, month by month. And so he, after I don't know, it was no more than a year, maybe 6 months to 8 months, that he just gave up on the whole thing. That he was just frustrated with it not being what he wanted it to be in terms of growing fast enough. I mean, he didn't even give it enough. I don't think he even gave it a year. So his anxiety about wanting to get ahead and to do something before he even understood how to do it was so massive that it took him down a route that ultimately took him down kind of a depressive route where he wasn't able to function anymore. I was getting the reports. I would still get the reports because I was trying to notice that the sales were dropping off because he wasn't going out there and doing them. And so, it just kind of floundered, and so he was stuck with the bill for paying for the business, but it just kind of fell by the wayside. And so there again, it's somebody that, wasn't willing to try and figure out what's really going on here. Who am I? What am I really pursuing here? And why are these emotions kicking up in me to such a degree that I'm being pushed around, that the waves are drawing me this way and that way? Uh, we got to think those things through. We've got to look at that and kind of ask the question, what's going on? Why am I doing this? Why am I running away from my emotions? And again, we won't really relate it to that. We won't really think about emotions if we're a person that is not in touch with emotions. Um, the thing that connects all of this and that connects our channel, the pursue, the transform, uh, build, is in my mind very unique to the seven hermetic principles. And how all of that is tied together, and how we are tied together. The idea of mentalists, the idea that we form things in our mind. As a man thinks, so is he. The idea that correspondence, I think, is one of the terms, that everything's in fractals, so above, so below, as below, so above. That idea that however it's formed in the smaller, it's also formed in the larger. Amazing concepts. But these, I think, form the picture of us, of how we are all interconnected in such a way as a human, and that we can't set our emotions over here and say, well, I'm not going to deal with those. We can't put them over here in a box and say, we can do that, and frankly, that's what I did. I'm just encouraging you, don't do it. My whole channel is about trying to get you to avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. So yeah, you can do that, but that ain't the way to do it. Rather, you want to be in touch. You want to know that these wonderful emotions that God has given us are for a purpose. They're to move us in a direction that we can become all that we have been designed and been created to be. Not to ignore them, not to uh, not to pretend that they're not there, not to run away from them, but to embrace them and say, "Uh, I need to know what's going on." You don't want to just hold your hand on the hot iron and pretend that nothing's happening. You want to be in touch. You want to be attentive. You want to be connecting with what's going on in this amazing thing, the mind and the heart and the brain and the physical body and the emotions, and how all of that's connecting in such a way that we want to know, oh, what is it that you would have me to be pursuing? Where is it that you would have me to be going? What is it that's really what's unique and special about me that I can pursue the really important things that are crying out, that itch that needs to be scratched, that are crying out to be who I'm designed to be, and not just to be doing what I'm doing. And we're only going to get there if we let our emotions do the work that they are designed to do. If we are uh, if we are aware of what's going on in our bodies and our minds and our and life circumstances, because we're all going to have those ups and downs that we read about just a moment ago, and they're all going to be different and unique each time they come. How are we going to deal with them? Are we just going to ignore them? Are we going to run away from the situation and just have a positive attitude that says, "I'll get through this"? But see, that's a mental kind of a will your way through it, and you can do that, and that will often get you through it. But again, uh, what am I feeling as I'm going through this? How am I to get in touch with what's really going on? Again, my character in the book, Metamorphosis, is Ronald, is me, and his mode of operandum was to run away from it. In my life, I literally ran away from my family for years. So to me, it got to an extreme. You see, I do things in extremes. So it, we all deal with things differently. And my challenge to you today uh, is to be in touch with A, who you are, like we talked about last week. B, what's going on when you're going through difficult circumstances, or exhilaration through wonderful circumstances. St. Ignatius called it times of desolation and times of consolation. that we all go through these ups and downs. And again, that's part of those hermetic principles that everything has a pattern, and there's an up and down pattern to everything. And that during consolation, we're up here, and we're in touch. We're in touch with our Creator. We're in touch with life. We're in touch with ourselves. But sometimes during times of desolation, we are at a place of the low points in our life, and we're at those times maybe tempted to become depressed, or to not deal with the issues at hand, or to run away from the things that we don't want to see because it was so exhilarating while we were in consolation. And I don't like it down here when I'm in desolation. And so, just because we don't like it doesn't mean we run away from it. It means we begin to deal with it, because life is that way. It's going to come your way with all sorts of circumstances. It's going to bring all sorts of things. And then when you add business to that, it's going to be doubly so, maybe triply so, that you're going to have the issues of life that come your way. You want to be prepared to take those issues of life and deal with them. You want to know that you can get through it, not just because you will your way through it, but because you are in touch with who you are. You're listening to your body. You're listening to your emotions. You're listening to the people around you. There's counselors. And so you're going to be in that mode, whether you're in consolation or whether you're in desolation, whether you're in the good times or whether you're in the bad times. They all will come. Scripture is clear about that. Your life is probably clear about that. You've probably already experienced it. And it's not a period at the end. It will come again, because things do happen in these amazing cycles. And so my challenge to you is uh, to consider the transformation that's taking place. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed so that you're in control of the circumstances, and that you're not just being moved along, so that you can prove the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That's what that verse goes on to say, because then you are taking the circumstances of life and allowing them to be integrated into yourself, the real you, the mind and the heart, so that you are being transformed in a positive way, that you are being transformed in a way that you begin to connect with who you are and begin to fulfill your purpose in a way that you don't just happen to be doing in the world of building, but you, as a result of the fact that you've been pursuing the person within, the the facts of life, the realities of life. That's creating a transformation. The transformation is going to happen anyway. Don't forget that you're going to be transformed one way or the other. But are you going to have control of it in this way, where you are looking at every event, where you are aware, where you are attentive, where you are listening, or where you're curious about what's going on? That's where you wanna be, in order that that transformation sends you over into the build world with purpose, over into the build realm whereby you can become the person that you've been designed to be. See yourself as a unique creation, and see yourself being able to become all things new when you really grasp these truths. And I mean, that comes from a scripture, and it's when Christ has made all things new in you. But again, you can with or without that reality, you can take hold of what you do have. What you do have is a physical body. You have a real you within. You have emotions that connect it all, and you can be in touch with that. You can begin to ask questions. You can begin to desire more than anything to know what's going on, and not just to ignore it, not to run away from it. We want to be sensitive. Uh, we want to be in touch with what's really going on. So again, um, uh, uh, it's a process that's going on for each of us. Do we want to be engaged in it, Or do we want to just kind of be on the sidelines watching it go by? We don't want to do that. So I'm going to wind it down now. I am going to remind you to please like, subscribe, share this once it's up in a couple of hours with someone that you know or love. Um, and please comment, send questions and comments my way so that I can engage with you. I really, really do enjoy that. And I'm going to go through the chat here just now, as I usually do, so that we can see if there are any specific questions. Really hope there are. I see a few more people here with hellos, and I'm not sure what that question is. Um, why does the CDAC 4KI project buy seed phrases? I'm not sure what all that is. It's apparently you have that on within the chat. Great. And hello to all of you who are here that weren't here earlier. Heichfat, Arman, and okay, good, good. I'm doing great. For some of you who asked, thanks so much. And friends who has already sold their crypto wallets through, selling crypto through the CDAC 4KY project. Okay. All right. Okay. A couple more back and forth things here about ask your doctor for estrogen. Okay. Transform. Yes, be transformed. Okay. Someone asked, how old are you? 75. And getting older every day. And let's see. A lot of discussion here about estrogen. I'm not sure what your conversation. If you get it figured out. Uh, okay. Do you think it'll make it to Agartha? You'll make it to Agartha. Not sure what Agartha is, gaseous. Make another comment here and I'll go back down the bottom and look at it. Would I like to talk about politics for a moment? Leo? No. I'm kind of sick of politics. Uh, so, uh, but if you want to comment in the comments, I'd love to have an interaction with you. So we can do it there. Or if you come to the school community, we can do a little bit of it there, although we're going to focus on the more important things. Let me be honest, you look like a great narrator for the railway series. We in the Thomas community would like your voice. But what do you have, a Thomas train community? What was that? What was that, Thomas? I remember my kids had the Thomas trains. Um, how can I cut out my emotion? Aldrin, I'm not sure if you're asking that in a way to actually ask that question, or if you're saying that's ridiculous. How can I do that? Um, but the way we do it is we avoid it, we push it down, we ignore it, we do all sorts of things to get away from it. What headphones would you recommend? I can't help you with that one. The aim to the channel is to make people life purposeful. Yeah, I think that would be a summary statement. Matthew Sanders, Jesus Christ, Manton, thank you. And we got a lot of them here in the chat today. Well, the earlier question, how much longer is this whole thing going to go for? Now you know. I don't know if you're still here. And somebody else referring to Grandpa here. Hello. You should use last, it looks like. Cool. Okay. All right. All right. I'm just going to slip back down to the bottom of them here real quick and just see if any new ones have been added. We know what you did and we're going to get you. formally would like to announce that I'm taking, while watching this. Okay, well, that's all right. That's nice, Nation. Okay, guys, it's been so good having you. I really look forward to seeing you again. We do these every Saturday at 1:30. But again, come and look at my site to find in the post a link to our Profound Pursuits. We'd love to see you there. It'll be a free community where we can engage more intimately and where we can get to these things more in depth. IHOP is asking a final question here. No, absolutely not. I mean, maybe I did, like, it was a mistake. Okay, don't. Okay, okay. I'm not sure what all that comment was about, IHOP, but uh, I'm going to be closing it out here. Please like, subscribe, uh, and comment. Really would love to have your comments. I really do enjoy engaging with you here. And then again, share this or any of my other videos with others. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for being here.